Mr. Shankar Marwada, as you know, is the founder of X-Step Foundation. Much of his work is something that is impacting us every day. Who can forget Aadhaar? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being here. And a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ramesh Raskar, professor with MIT Media Labs. He's been so kind enough. Professor Vijay Kumar and Dr. Ramesh landed few hours before in India, and we are thankful for them for turning in here. Thank you, sir. And it kind of puts us to shame, like they're so bright and nice after hardly an hour or two of sleep. So before the procedure, I understand is there going to be a photo op before we start. So if I request that we have a photo of the panel before we start. Let me also do the honor. Yeah. So he's got a nice packing where we will get this across.
Check.
Honorable Minister Shri Ashish Sood couldn't join us. He's perhaps on his way, and unfortunately, we're starting on time, and there are multiple sessions, so we are going ahead with this. But rest of the profiles, I'm sure you had an opportunity to look at them. Because we have only 55 minutes, we are not spending time in introducing them in detail. What I was afraid is if I start introducing, that will take more than an hour, each one of them separately. So, with all your permission, sir, maybe we'll not get detailed into the introduction and your words will speak louder. So, we'll start without further ado in terms of why we are here and what we are doing. And in the next 55 minutes or so, we're going to have a round of discussions amongst us. And then we thought of also having a round with the audience here. My request there, I'll repeat this rule as we go. You will have about 30 seconds or so to air your thoughts about the session and what you think. And what we'll do is we will stick to that 30 seconds to 1 minute so that we can have as many views as possible. So we'll come to that a little later. Let me start by the topic itself. AI and the future of skilling, strengthening human resources and transformation of higher education institutions. It's a long one, it's a long topic. We thought through this, and then we realized the future is more skilling. Whatever the word means, it has multiple connotations rather than degrees and diplomas and other things. Already we see a lot of youngsters, and I see a lot of young faces here who say, what I need is what I'm skilled at, what I'm competent, and not necessarily some paper that says I'm so competent on other things. So we are looking at future of skilling from the perspective of how it is going to transform educational institutions. And why is it important? AI is the buzzword now, but the disruption is not as if it is new. I go back to similar such disruptions that has happened in the past. In the 18th century or so, when industrial revolution happened, people said machines are going to come over, they are going to be so efficient, they'll take away all our jobs. There's not going to be anything for us to do, and we are all doomed. So then it was more agriculture and trade and other things. Then manufacturing as an industry came, nothing lost. The economy just got bigger, more people got jobs, and more prosperity happened. More recently, when the computers were introduced, I was young and I was a student then. Everybody said, computers have come in, they're going to think for humans. We don't have any more jobs. And there are dharnas and other things happening. Computers are taking away our jobs. Of course, there were changes that happened, more new jobs created, some of the jobs went away, but the economy improved, more jobs happened, more competency came into, and nothing changed, and life went on. When internet happened again, similar stories happened. They said internet has come, it's now connecting everybody. I was overawed with the world wide web and how information, and it changed some. As consultants, we used to make a living out of gathering information, collating it, and giving to our clients. Suddenly that was gone. There was internet that literally could give you access to anything and everything. Once again, people thought, you know, there's not going to be any jobs. Just that ordinary mails became electronic mails, ordinary commerce became electronic commerce. It continued, there were more jobs, and the only difference, I guess, is certain things vanished. And I don't know, some of you would remember it was called Department of Posts and Telegraphs once upon a time. Telegraphs was unceremoniously dropped and it became Department of Posts. So the changes did happen, but it also introduced a whole new things like, for example, your social media happened, Apple happened, Google happened, and things now you see jobs that are happening in a big way. So why I'm saying this, artificial intelligence is one such big disruption that has come in. Once again, people are saying here is something that has come that is so disruptive. It can do things faster. What we did in days, it can do in minutes. Is there any role for us? Are there going to be anything left out for humans? My suspicion is it's going to create new industries like it did in the past. It's going to create new competencies. The economies are only going to get better and bigger. And here we are going to discuss, if this is the scenario, what are our educational institutions going to do? Human resources are going to be crucial for somebody to succeed in this post AI world. Are we ready? Are our educational institutions ready? Or should we do something? Like, for example, we had this new course called computer applications. There were bachelors of computer applications and masters of computer applications that happened just because there was a new disruption that happened. Are we looking at new courses, new formats, new pedagogy? How is it going to evolve? With that as the backdrop, our panelists here come from very different backgrounds. They are academicians, tenured academicians who kind of define how education is going to happen. There are people who predicted how things have happened. And there are people amongst the panelists who created this new industry basis this, who've been part of this, making things happen. And digital public good as a norm was introduced by somebody in the panel today who is going to speak more about this. With that, I'm going to go straight into the panel. I'm going to request Dr. Vijay Kumar to share, to open with his thoughts on. He's been a pioneer in these new models of education. Online education in MIT many years back was some of his thought, and I know there are many other things that he's going to share with us. I'm going to request you, sir, that if you can share some of your views on not just what's going to change, but perhaps what are things that don't change in your perspective.
This should be okay. I work at MIT. I know how to switch this on. um, Good morning, and thank you, Nana, really for inviting me and putting me together with this very illustrious group of people. And thank you all for being here. I will, share some perspectives. Offhand, I'll tell you that I like to, as an educator, as an educationist, I want to put AI in the context of educational change, and so there'll be more about educational change than actually about AI. And there's lots of stuff about AI, and we'll hear some very interesting things. The other thing that you mentioned, in terms of predicting in the future, I do like to remember and remind people that I'm actually, by preparation, an educational futurist. And one of the things that we did as a futurist was that we don't predict the future, we make it possible for others to realize preferred futures. So that's the business that we certainly are in as educators, and we hope all of us are in. And the thing that, and Nana and I were talking about this in advance for some weeks now about this topic, not necessarily for this. And he said, what do we keep? This is a little plug. I am in the process of, with my colleague Lana Cook at MIT, process of writing a second book, and it's called Invariance and Innovation, essentially saying look, with all the educational innovation at MIT, I've been there for 30 years, are there some core beliefs, principles, practice, values that we really latch on to, hang on, that drive this, even that help us navigate change? What is it that we keep as we keep changing things for the future? But the the thing that I talk about a lot is, and I believe this new world both has the affordances to address and the need to address is quality at scale. So that's the dimension I want to bring. And what I want to do is say a little bit about what do I mean quality and what do I mean by scale in this context. So I'll just give you a little brief history of the future. In 1999, MIT launched something called Open Courseware. Many of you know it was making the content of all its courses available for free to the world. What is interesting is what was going on at that time. We were actually trying to figure out how do we engage in distance education. Now, as Nana was saying, there have been these cycles. What do we do with distance education? How do we take this MIT learning experience and extend it to audiences that we typically don't serve outside? And so how do we scale it? And at that time, some of you might know there were lots of initiatives for taking content and commercializing content and stuff. And our I used to operate something called the Council on Education Technology. Our faculty, my colleagues, our leadership said, look, if you want to extend value, we have to know what this value is about. What is the essential value proposition, quality proposition of MIT education? And we use some very typical words like intensity and drinking from the fire hose, things, the words that you will recognize. And I said, no, what does it really mean? And we said, look, there are some things that we care about. We care a lot about active learning. We care about, in fact, we use terms like minds on, hands on, the learning. MIT's logo says men's at Manas, mind and hand. Of course, we've had in mind, hand, and heart now, to bring in the compassion element. But active learning meant a lot. And the fusion of sort of analytical rigor with practical engagement to solve hard problems. And that you will see across the MIT curriculum. And we said, this is what we do. And at that time, circa 1999, we only knew how to do that in face-to-face experiences, on-site experiences, right? Because well, education like this is a contact sport, and it's also a team sport, right? So we did that. And so we said the only honest thing to do at that time to scale, because we know only how to do this over here, is to take a picture of everything that we do and share it with the world. That's how we are going to scale this. And it was a statement in humility, because we said, this is not an MIT education, it is a publishing of MIT educational resources. And that's how we are sharing. It was used as supplement, it was used so scale meant and was exercised in that way at that time. But it was, to your point about this stage that we are here in, these are forcing functions like today's AI or disruptive force to really reflect on what is it that we care about, what do we mean for the new skill economy, what is it that we want uh, in terms of foundational competencies, etc., as we prepare learners, and I'm saying learners for another reason. By the way, scale at that time, as you all know, much has changed now. Nowadays, we have very, very complex, hard problems in society. We talk about climate, we talk about AI, there's all kinds of upheavals, and health. And one thing that is clear is that the problems, global problems of society cannot be solved in individual disciplines. You need cross-disciplinary, you need to transcend boundaries of discipline, right? And the other thing that what we say, yes, all that has to be done, and the hard problems increase their hardness because of this complexity, but you still do those hard problems. But we do not want to lose sight of the fact that we want this active practice-based learning experience and see how do we do this in this new world. The thing about scale is very interesting. 1999, we took all this thing. It was almost like there was a homogeneous market out there. We'll take this and, it's like the McDonald metrics. We'll just distribute this to millions of people. And, OpenCourseWare has been accessed by millions of learners around the world over the years, but something has changed now. Now we say that, look, if you look at your learners, they come with different aspirations, they come with different motivations, they come with different preparation, they they come for upskilling, they come at during various stages in their career. They're not your traditional 17-year-olds, they're adult learners. So suddenly you find that scale does not mean taking one thing and distributing it to millions, but means taking one thing, taking many things and giving it to many different kinds of people. I like to joke with my colleagues at MIT saying that scale is not a scalar, it's a vector. It's got magnitude and direction. Now you're ready, which increases the complexity. So it's these, and it seems daunting, the complexity of hard problems, and we believe that. We see that in various programs at MIT. 2 years ago, I was sitting here doing Day of AI. We're launching Day of AI. You'll see that the kinds of problems that are picked by the students themselves to do are problems that they care about, problems that are relevant, and problems that they feel they can contribute to society for, right? So that's the doing part, and they want to come up with real solutions. Now, but the scale dimensions come, and then you say, my God, this is daunting. And this is where I will sort of uh, taper it down, which is it's daunting, but not just because I'm a perennial optimist, but we have lots of good things on the supply side. We've got some assets. Okay. We've got learning science. We have learned a lot about learning, about how people learn, about learning curves, forgetting curves, so that we can actually create differentiated pathways for learning, right? But how do you scale that? AI. So we've learned a lot about learning science, which is an asset on the supply side. We've also got new affordances of technology, particularly AI. We can do formative testing, we can provide guided pathways so that we can actually meet the needs of large numbers of people for different kinds of things. And there is a third thing, which is we actually have an ecosystem that we engage much more with. So we actually look at partnerships amongst institutions, amongst groups with industry. With these three things, we can uh, we can really address this new definition of scale and the new complexity. But in all this, I think we at least this is what. And I'm sorry, but I have to give you one last thing. We started just as a bookend. We had started with OpenCourseWare. Today, what we have done is launched a platform which, during the course I'll tell you, called Universal AI. This is and this is a set of modular courses for foundational AI learning, right? Modular interactive courses. And then another layer of domain related AI verticals, AI for topics in health, like precision medicine, AI for manufacturing. So the foundational courses, this has just been launched in spring. Our intent is to reach 1 billion learners. Certainly it is the intent of Dimitris Bertsimas, who's been leading this initiative in open learning. And Universal AI has all this. It's modular, it uses AI, provides different pathways for learning. So that's today's version of our OpenCourseWare in this. It's universal learning, and the first offering there is Universal AI.
Thank you so much. Thanks, doctor. Thank you so much. Exactly. Yeah. That is precisely what we need, quality at scale. And you also said the art of forgetting. Maybe we need to unlearn a lot before we relearn. And what you said sounds music because billion learners, you have all of them here. In fact, more. So we are eagerly looking forward to not just quality at scale, but also some of the AI related stuff because at one level we don't understand what is there, but another level we are hungry. And as typically Indians too, once we get onto it, we move fast. So we are looking forward to some of those things. Thank you so much, sir. It's my honor now to introduce and request Ashish Kulkarni. Ashish Kulkarni is, I call him the father of the AVGC XR revolution that has happened. I don't know if some of you know the term AVGC was coined by Ashish. Not today, decades back. And I realized it was before even what we thought that word existed. So animation, visual effects, gaming, comics, and extreme reality are now some part of our life.
Extended reality.
Extended reality are part of our life. And recently in the budgets, read about this new institute called Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, and that is something that Ashish is the founding director and also somebody who's been envisioning this for many years. Ashish, we would like to turn to you, and also, by the way, entertainment is a sector, obviously, and entertainment has seen a lot of changes, like from the theater days to gaming and the visual effects. Now it's immersive experience, I understand. So where is this heading, and where do you think AI can help, and what in fact is the reason why educational institutions and we had the great opportunity at KPMG to work with Ashish ji on some of the new age institutions that he's building. So what is your take on what's the impact on institutions for that, sir?
Well, as far as the media and entertainment is concerned, uh, AI pretty much has entered every single aspect of our business, right from graphics to even writing scripts to giving you the final video, and also creating something which is, you know, of different scale altogether. Nevertheless, the thing is, few of the challenges that I see as we design curriculums for the new age storytellers is that every semester will have to be a different semester as you define it, because the foundational skills are the ones that you can actually look at going early. India, unfortunately, uh, with the first like education policies, didn't have creative arts, performing arts, design, and sports into the mainstream curriculum. And it's kind of coming in only after NEP 2020. And that too after the sixth grade onwards, on from sixth to 12th grade. So one of the aspects that IACT that we are doing is to really look at a foundational pathway for kids to find their, like you do physics, chemistry, mathematics to go to engineering, physics, chemistry, biology to go to medical, and then the commerce pathway. We are creating a pathway for design, storytelling, filmmaking, and sports, uh, with a base of creative arts and performing arts. And we consider sports as performing arts too. While doing this, we realize that, of course, AI is impacting us really into every single process that we have. And from ideation to script to screen, we have 52 different processes. And today, we cannot think of any process which cannot be done by AI and cannot be done at scale. The issues are still there, but the issues can be sorted out. There are few things that we are looking at. We are looking at beyond AI at this point in time, to be precise, because our business is not only about artificial intelligence. Our business is mostly about emotional intelligence, because the storyteller is the one who is emotionally evolved and emotionally intelligent person. Because you start watching any film, you get hooked to a film, and you want to continue. Just give me hands up as to how many of you watch web series these days. Most of you do. Can you also tell me, if a new season gets released for 10 episodes of 1 hour each, do you watch it over 10 months? Do you watch it over 10 weeks? You want to watch it within the first 24 hours. You know why? Because the storyteller is a emotionally evolved person. He is an emotionally intelligent person, and that's what goes into the storytelling. The way they start the story and the way we end the episode, you cannot resist going to the next episode, come what may. So the issue is now, even with the complete AI ecosystem on the other side, which is the distribution and the marketing side of it, and the reach side of it is also phenomenally higher. India is the greatest case study of all. We have 700 million active smartphone users. In 2027, will be about, you know 1 billion active smartphone users with access to good data at the lowest prices, and people have an access to the content in the best possible way, and that goes into the gaming ecosystem as well. So what I call it, as we actually have decided to set up Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, which actually got sanctioned after 20 years of hard push. But nevertheless, it's a great beginning. And when it comes to formation of schools, and I had to put my foot down, and people say that let's have an AI school and all. And I said AI can be a center of excellence, but the school that we have is a school of emerging intelligence, because we are going to deal not only with AI, we are going to deal with emotional intelligence, and we are also going to deal with behavioral intelligence. And I have said digital behavioral intelligence of people who actually have devices and different screens. We are in the screen era today, because come what may, about 4 hours to 5 hours or 6 hours you spend in front of some screen or the other. So we call it a screen era. And in the screen era, there are different kind of content activations that AI is enabling us right now in the process of creation. One is that we create films, we create web series, we create a whole lot of things which are passive creations, where you are watching it and consuming it. You might get engaged with it deeply, even by watching it in a passive manner. The second is the extended reality and the gaming, where you are engaged with taking the story forward. And that's where your engagement is higher. And then extended reality is one that even your environment around you is going to change. You are inside the environment. And that's the the emerging storytelling at this point in time, in various forms. India is making more than 150 odd museums at this point in time, with a great technology that is getting used in various forms, and I'm lucky to be involved with quite a few of them. And the education has to really keep a pace with this. There was a time that, when you said you need to take this. Now the thing is that AI is creating that images for you, AI is creating that film for you, but you need to know whether what AI is given an output is correct for you to put it to the public. The role of an editor, that Rajkumar Hirani is one of the best editors that we have today, whether that kind of an editor can be taken into the system, and whether that human in the loop, what we call it, can be avoided, I would say at this point in time, no. The thing is, that sense actually comes from the experience that is happening around you. And it will, of course, we know that it might also get overcome by AI in some time. But the foundational skills for the kids are very important, and that's why we are saying starting early in life is very important for the kids to understand what is the grammar of storytelling, and we need to prepare them from the 6th grade to the 12th grade. That's what this budget talked about, that we are going to impact it with 15,000 schools to start with. We also had a meeting with other tinkering labs. They are 10,000 right now. They are going to be 50,000 more labs being set up. And we just had a workshop on the 12th in Delhi. And Deepakji told us that 50,000 are the new ones which are coming in, and we would like to really see that the creative arts, performing arts is a part of it. Another question, what is going to be enabling for you is, how many of you wanted to learn music in your life? Can you raise your hands, please? And how many of you tried learning music? And how many of you are continuing with it? So the thing is, AI is now going to enable you to learn music online all the time. And we have two people sitting here, Lauren and Aubrey, who have created Lauren Music Academy .ai, and they have actually now creating this for the thing, and we are taking them to all the schools and the universities, and it's an amazing platform that has been created. And I'm very proud that this platform has come out of India, and it's going to enable people to learn creative arts and performing arts at whatever ages, and at whatever time that they get on whatever devices that they can actually be. So the challenge for the skilling ecosystem is to constantly look at your curriculums, where it's the school curriculum or the higher education. Because of AI, you need to have balance of foundational skills have to be there at one layer, because the grammar has to be taught to them. The issue is that when it comes to the implementation, and our industry is impacted by the digital ecosystem very strongly, they need to constantly be updated with the latest technology, and the outputs are in the latest technology, as the consumers actually consume the content through that.
Thank
And
you.
that's why every semester will have to be redefined as you go forward. It's going to be a Herculean task for all
Every semester.
educational system. Yeah, absolutely. Because what
Wow.
you teach in the first semester, that cannot be relevant for many things in the second semester. And I think that's the challenge that I foresee in time to come. And you will have to be updated with the whole thing so that the students can actually find their way
Thank you.
more strongly and well informed way.
Thanks, Ashish. Thank you so much. A big round of applause, please. I know the future is not scary, very exciting actually, but at a foundational level makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Let me turn to Dr. Manish Kumar. Manish Kumar has multiple avatars. Apart from his administrative services career and what he did for NSDC, he's now a part-time academician. He's an author, he's a writer, and advises institutions like World Bank. But what I'm very, very curious and interested is how he is trying to use AI to help higher education institutions in their journey. Right? To quote him, says the goal that he has is to equip leadership with the strategic skills to transition from a factory model of education to an adaptive AI integrated pedagogy. Sir, may I request you to share your thoughts on that, please?
Thank you very much. So I'll be speaking from a perspective of economics and more of institutional economics perspective on how I look at education and AI. And what I find is, if you look at it from a perspective of the past, education and industry more or less grew together. So when we had industry 1.0, we had education 1.0. That's way back in 1760s. About 1870, we came to Industry 2.0, and that was the batch, the manufacturing systems that were being developed at that point of time. Education system also then adapted to that situation. Over time, in about last 100, years, I think the industry has really accelerated off late very, very speedily. So you'll find we are at Industry 4.0. The education still at Education 2.0. I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. There are, of course, efforts being made, including the National Education Policy of India, which is far much more forward-looking than its predecessor and trying to adapt. But I guess one of the challenge which comes is the desire for predictability and the desire for stability within the educational system and the fear among people that how much change can you really adapt to. So therefore, there is a lag there, quite obviously. And I think this is important to be aware of that particular aspect, that there is a forward move of industry which you cannot stop. And with artificial intelligence is really going cracking ahead. It's one of those technology which is called the general purpose technology, AI, same as internet. We had the steam power in the past. There has been electricity in the past. So there are not too many general purpose technology, maybe about 5 of them in last 200, 300 years. The earliest one being wheel, as people often say as an example, that these are ones which changes the foundation of how human civilization operates, how you think, how you interact, how you behave with each other. And that's one of the things which has come latest is AI. And we are not going to go back on that simply by the force of technology that has come in. It's a question of how quick we adapt, how well we adapt. So I think this is one aspect of it. Coming to the educational part of it, that how should we now relate to the world? I think there are a few very important aspects of it. One is the fact that industry demands certain competencies. And if we continue the old style, it's often very expensive education. I have had friends in Harvard, in MIT, and various others often talking to me about extremely expensive education in US, whereas the industry seems to demand something very different, and that people need to reskill themselves when they actually go out to the industry. So the question was, how should we break it down? What is it that we should be doing? So one of the things which I strongly believe in is competency-based learning, because that's one way that you could convert every syllabus that you have into things that the industry needs. How do you convert a syllabus into competencies that is actually demanded by the industry? And you need to, I think, map that on a continuous basis, because my discussion with industry often also has led me to understand that there's so much change happening in the industry that they themselves are not aware how things will change next year. So just to give an example, if any of you have used Replit, which is one of the vibe coding tool. 1 year back, it was chasing its own tail. It was pretty poor. But if you look at it today, it's very advanced comparatively, just in 1 year's time. So a lot of tools actually are very rapidly improving, and the technology is changing very quick. So industry itself actually struggles in a way to identify what is it that they will require in the coming years, and therefore the need that competency frameworks also keep changing, keep adapting to that, and then responding to the need of the industry. I think that's very, very critical. The second thing which I feel very important in the whole educational system is the speed at which I have noticed youngsters pick up the new tools extremely fast. They know how to do things, but they don't know what to do. So therefore, they are busy with gaming, making things, etc., which they enjoy. I mean, that's a good part of life. That's perfectly okay. The older people, people of my generation, for example, would know what to do, but to them, a python is a snake. They don't understand that how what is it that they need as a tool to convert that problem into something which is easy and solvable. So I think if you are able to make this intergenerational learning much easier, that you make people who understand what to do sit with people who know how to do. If you are able to make these two work in a more informal kind of environment, not in the typical educational setting, but more in a mentorship kind of environment where there is a freedom to express and freedom to communicate in a much better way. I think that could lead to changes which are far faster than it is today. So I guess the AI is throwing us a lot of opportunity. There is need for a lot of lateral thinking. I think education system is not going to change overnight. This doesn't, institutions don't change overnight. It takes time, but realization that change is necessary. That on fringes you'll have to add new things, and you have to become much more creative together with AI. I think that's very critical. That's how I think we can make best use of AI. So that's what I think at this point of time I'll add. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much. Big round of applause, please. As usual, Shankar put in some really wonderful, fundamental, far-reaching things in his own simple manner. Everything, except including that silver economy bit that you said, like the older people coming together with younger people. We are trying our best. Let's see how it happens. But AI is going to provide perhaps some recourse there. It's my pleasure now turn to Shankar Marwada. I'm sure all of you know Adar. Is there anybody here who came in without Adar? Here is a person who made it happen. Co-founder of XStep Foundation. Not many of you know that he had a very thriving marketing career. Their loss is our gain. So thank you so much, sir, for being here. My question to you is: you've been in the forefront of this digital public good. So the digital infrastructure for education is something that you're creating. What is your guideline? And obviously there are going to be more and more people who are going to jump into it, and that's why it's called digital public good, right? There are others who are going to come into it. Are there any guidelines, any learnings, any pearls of wisdom that you want to share with people who want to be part of this digital public good, and what is your views on how that will impact education system?
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Nana. First of all, it's wonderful to see a packed audience at first day of an AI Impact Summit at so early a time. 2007, I sold my company and was looking to do something good for society. That's how I went into a lot of the work we did. My son was born in 2006. He will graduate a couple of years from now. If you look in these, and that time my paranoia was, if I, as a successful, wealthy Indian, do not do something for India, I was envisioning a civil war in India by 2020. The gap between haves and have-nots, if you project that. And 2026, we're doing pretty well, right? Now, what happened in between was when problems are growing non-linearly, our solutions cannot grow linearly. The gap will only increase, and that stress will result in some kind of a fracture. So we need our solutions to also grow non-linearly. And that is how a lot of you have Aadhaar. Anybody who's not used UPI in this hall? Okay. Anybody who's not used DigiLocker? Okay. Anybody who's not used Digi Yatra in airports? So, all of this, how do you take something to the scale of 1 billion plus in a country as large and diverse as India again and again and again, right? The we did something and then you have to create a word for it. It's called digital public infrastructure. So India has now more than a decade of experience of coming up with non-linear ways of handling problems that are growing non-linearly. Why is this important now? AI is the ultimate non-linear disruptor of this generation. We saw internet when we began, but this is going to be much bigger. When the year my son was born, 2006, if somebody told me that there's actually a career for people who travel and take videos of it and allows others to see, somebody who cooks, takes videos of it and allows others to see, so on and so forth. And these guys will be millionaires, and that will be their profession. I would say take a hike. But we are the largest YouTube content creator economy in the world, and there's a word for it now, orange economy. And thanks to people like Ashish, that will only grow exponentially. If somebody told me that a youngster, while still in college, to get his pocket money, has become a gig worker who will deliver stuff and get money as much as anybody else would make at entry level, I would say take a hike. Because what do you mean you'll deliver and make money? So the gig economy, 10 million jobs now, right? Two professions that we did not exist when my son was born. The child who's born today, who will graduate in around the time of our Viksit Bharat goal, 2046, 47, we don't even know the next five professions that are going to come up. And as Manish put it beautifully, education is growing linearly. It caught up with IR 1.0, 2.0, which and rapidly fell behind. How do we have a realistic chance with our demographic of giving them, of training them now for careers that don't even exist? There's only one way, as I see it. That is using the principles of digital public infrastructure here. What do I mean? Currently, while we are doing very well as a country, a lot of people face a lot of severe bottlenecks. One, if you're in some village and if you haven't learned English or Hindi, your prospects of learning, forget earning, the prospects of learning are severely reduced. Two, as we are transitioning to a digital economy, we have seen the benefits of Digiyatra. But a lot of people still live in the world of paper. Why? Three, to find market access, where are jobs, where can I get trained, right, is difficult. Can that be changed? Can I find in around me? You can find pizza around you. You can find cabs around you. Can you find jobs around you? Can you find skills around you? Right? So there are these structural bottlenecks like this. Using a DPI example, what does it mean? If there is a way where we collect high quality data, language data, that allows anyone to use it for voice services in Indic language, then anyone can learn anything anywhere. With AI, as my fellow speakers have said, the only gap is motivation. If you're motivated, 20 years ago, if you're passionate about cooking or if you're passionate about music, you would have got slapped by your parents if you want to say that I want to take that as a career, right? Going forward, this will be the norm. Unless you're passionate about engineering, I would advise anybody, do not get into engineering. Do not get into what you're not passionate about because that may not exist by the time your children graduate. So, given all of this, the way India has created a shared capability, one, Aadhaar allows anyone to use it in whatever way, whether you're getting a SIM card, a bank account, etc. By the way, this is not rocket science. This is the reason why we have roads. Somebody builds roads, somebody else builds cars. What is non-linear? The road maker does not care whether you're driving a horse cart, bullock cart, hydrogen, EV, autonomous. Let non-linear scale come. We will take advantage of it, right? That is the philosophy we have been doing for the last 15 years, and that is what we will do in the next 15 years. How do we prepare our children? The answer is we cannot prepare them. The markets will ask specific skills. At that point, we give them the basic competencies, and the human competencies and sensitivities are much more important. And NEP is doing a good job of that. The child will figure out what they're good in, what they're motivated to, and they'll have all facilities around them to learn. There will be local experts. Like the way IT industry did not exist 4 decades ago, right? Then you had Apple and AppTech and all of these guys come and set it up. We will find, thanks to people like organizations like ICT, many small organizations, institutes, entrepreneurs who will set this up. We need to trust that the market will innovate for the industry needs by finishing that and providing skilling. If I went somewhere and got a skilling course on editing, how do I know it's genuine? So you need to reduce the cost of trust in the digital world, in voice, in Indic AI, in the world of AI. All of this can happen much easily. I- And by the way, this is already happening. I don't have time to go into the details. I'm not talking science fiction, right? And it is not going to be science fiction when I end by saying that in 2025, when Rajni from Barabanki is dreaming of doing research on biothermal something, she will do it in Marathi by talking to some agent who will do the best research, because by then our data centers and AI would have progressed to the level of Nobel scientists. So imagine you have a data center full of Nobel scientists, right? What can Rajni do with her? We cannot even begin to, I mean, cannot even imagine now. But we have to have the belief that working backwards from those specific stories like a Rajini, like a 72-year-old Amma who's sharing a general wisdom and also making money, right? If you start with those use cases and work back and use the philosophy of create roads, technology will come. And what's the equivalent of roads for establishing trust, verifiable credentials? The equivalent of allowing anyone to learn, voice, Indic AI. All of these are being built as infrastructure. Blue dot. You can find a pizza, you can find car, can you find a job? A girl child has to go and search for scholarship. Why? Can the scholarship find the girl child? All possible, all happening, right?
Wow.
This is being built as infrastructure so that anyone can innovate on top and build their apps and not as thing. That I think is also,
Not even future, it's happening.
yeah, and also some way how 2026 India is different from 2009 when we started working on Aadhaar, right? The world is looking up to India to see how India handles it, because when India will finally solve it for a country of 1.5 billion, the world will learn from it and reapply in their world. I think that is what is exciting for me.
Thank you so much. And part of it is happening here. A big round of applause. And in some sense, that science fiction magic happened with UPI. There are days that and many of us here have moved around without money in our person. That happened thanks to this. Thank
I'll
you.
tell you the story. This tea seller was asking when we had a bunch of foreigners in G20 coming and seeing UPI. He's saying, "Sir, what's the big deal about this?" Right? I had to tell him, in their country, this is not there. This is magical for them. He said, I don't understand. So the magical technology, when it becomes boring and invisible, that is when it can serve a billion.
Absolutely well said. It absolutely well said. Like, the trick is not just the technology, but making it ubiquitous, making it invisible and at scale, and making it reliable. And we've not heard of frauds happening in such a big round of applause. And thank you so much. Digital public could each one of it explain. So it's my pleasure now, sir. I mean, this has been a wonderful forum. Thank you so much. Professor Ramesh Raskar has come, like I said, few hours before he's landed. Thank you so much, sir. He's also the head of MIT's media lab, especially in certain areas, which is going to talk about more. But I was more intrigued about the distributed technologies in AI that you're working, where you're talking about agents, multiple agents, and you're empowering them. How are they going to work in tandem? And how's education institutions going to benefit out of this?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I feel like this is the very first session where I'm the opening batsman for the India AI mission, and they're playing more like Kishan than Abhishek, by the way. So it's good to be here. By the way, I'm not the director of the MIT Media Lab, but I'm a professor at MIT. Mr. Shankar, I just want to say that every time you say, by cooking, by doing TV shows, but take a hike. I want people to start doing hikes and still make money. Um, I would say, we are in a very difficult phase right now. I think the moment you described back in 2006, we thought this could be the world of haves and have-nots. I'm really glad you brought that up because many of us are probably feeling that way. How many of you here are excited about AI? And how many of you are really scared? And how about both? Right? And so I think that's the moment. It's like 20 years later, we are in the same moment. And the reason for that is we all think we are in a kind of the factory phase of AI, which is some 4 or 5 companies will build AI and they're just downstream and will use it. And the worry all of us have is that there'll be exactly one math teacher for the whole world. There'll be exactly one diabetic expert for the whole world, and everybody else is just going to be taking those AI as master and become slave. So we're going to move into this, I would call intelligence slavery, where even if people don't lose their jobs, there'll be soulless, heartless jobs where all they are doing is using this AI and delivering it. A math teacher's delivering it to her student, and so on. So that's the risk where we move in. And this is what happened in the industrial revolution as well, where the machines became the masters and the employees were just the slaves, working very unsafe conditions. Um, but that's because we're in the factory mode of AI, because it's so expensive, very high capex, a lot of data, $100 million salaries, nuclear power plants, and so on. But fortunately, we're moving away from it to the garage era of AI, where many of us can build our own AI models, and start serving, which is good, but not millions of them, maybe a few hundred. But very soon, we will be in the bazaar model of AI, bazaar era of AI, where any one of us can create our own AI models, train our own AI models, and becomes part of our livelihood and become parts of our pride, our identity of who we are. And once we move to the bazaar model, what we just heard from Mr. Shankar about the discovery and making this multi-sided marketplace becomes very critical. And there's only one country in the world that has that bazaar model already figured out. Like we heard, the student should be finding the scholarship should find her. And when we switch this push and pull aspect of it, there's only one country that has done that, and thanks to DPI, we know which country that is. So we need to kind of switch as quickly as we can to the bazaar model to avoid getting to the dystopian world where we only have this one, master models and we're just downstream for it. So that's kind of one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is what does it mean to have our own micro AIs? Now, if every one of you, take an example of say PowerPoint, right? I mean, yes, Microsoft might sell PowerPoint, but your slides look very different than my slides. By the way, my slides look more beautiful than you, I think. I would like to believe like to believe the same. And the pride that I have in the slides I have made is not a pride I give to Microsoft. I take the credit for that myself. And we want to live in a similar world where the AI, micro AIs that each of us create, let's call them AI agents, the AI agents each of us create will be our representatives, our digital representatives, our Doot, our messenger, our envoy, and so on. And that certainly requires us to think in a highly decentralized way, not in a centralized way. And again, DPI makes that possible. So when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to travel, when it comes to energy, decentralization is kind of the strength of the DPI model. So what does it mean for us in the skilling aspect for DPI? We just heard earlier that you'll have access to hundreds of Nobel laureate quality scientists at your fingertips, through these AIs. But I would say we need 1.5 billion, Nobel laureate equivalent experts in this country, because each of them has so much to offer, but because of friction, they're not able to contribute to the economy because they're in a village or because they don't get the right kind of education. But the agentic world, the agentic web, is going to be a massive equalizer. And that's what we're excited about. And this is my research for last 10 years. We call the internet of AI agents. So it's not about AI, it's not about AI agents, but the internet of AI agents. And a small plug, that's what the project Nanda stands for. Always joke with Nanda Nilakani that it's kind of named after him, but forgot to put the N. So Nanda stands for Network AI Agents in Decentralized Architecture. I know it's a long mouthful, but it's also the name of my sister. And so go to projectnanda.org. And I think the opportunity for all of us is to change the mental model, because we're going to transact without banks, we're going to get care without going to the hospitals, but more importantly, we'll get education learning without building more schools. So this is a very interesting phase for all of us as we think about the skilling of the nation.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Unfortunately, what's happening is in this 1 hour time format, before we go out, the other team is just nudging and pushing us in before they actually pour in. Maybe we need to stop here. But thank you so much for being such a lovely audience, and thank you all for sharing your thoughts. And these are so much that each one of them could go on for more than a day, and there are so much to learn from them. It's my pleasure now to give away some small mementos, and I would request Nilachal and Pierre Stefano. Pierre Stefano is the EMA head of government advisory for KPMG Global. Unfortunately, we wanted audience to speak, but we definitely don't have any time at all, because like I said, it's a very strict timing that we have. So may I request Pierre and Nilachal to give away a small little memento from our side, along with the shawl that is wrapped inside. But thank you so much. Thanks so much for being such a lovely panelist and wonderful audience. Thank you so much for turning in. Hope you found it useful. We'll have more of this. We have 5 days to go. Thank you so much. Good day.
Walk and talk. I have to go to the next session. Yeah. Let's get that as well.
session with all your permission. And in the traditional Indian way, we thought we'll start with welcoming the panelists here, and then we'll dive straight into the session. Right? I'm going to, call on in no particular order, in the order of how they are seated. Dr. Vijay Kumar from MIT. Thank you so much, sir. May I request Nilachal Mishra? Nilachal Mishra is the leader for our government and public sector advisory. For those of you, most of you know him, for those of you who don't. And he's been the force behind making this happen. Thanks, Nilachal. And next, Ashish Kulkarni. Ashish Kulkarni is the founder director of IICT, which you would have seen in the budget so much.